Hello, YouTube. No matter what kind of pianist you are, whether you play classical music, jazz, rock, folk, or anything else, it's incredibly important to work on scales and to have the fluency to be able to play very quickly up and down the keyboard. Now, in my many years of teaching and playing, there are quite a few techniques, tips, tricks that I've developed, ways of working on the scales that can really help to make those scales shine, to make them really, really brilliant, effective, even. And I'm going to show you in this video quite a few of those different techniques that I use, all the main ones especially that I use to work on those scales and to make them really, really great. We're going to dive right in. We're going to look at the technique. We're going to look at some different tricks, some different exercises that you can use. Now, one of the most important things when you're playing scales, and a lot of people, you see this problem with beginners all the time, is that they don't keep their arm still. You'll see a lot of motion like this when they're playing, from the elbow, from the hand, everything moving. And a lot of that has to do with this thumb under motion. If people don't develop the thumb going under, what happens instead is that you have to move the whole arm and the wrist. And that's what you want to avoid. So you don't want any sideways motion in the elbow. You don't want any sideways motion in the hand when you're playing these scales. You want things to stay quite still. So the first thing that we want to develop when we're working on scales at the piano is this thumb under motion, because if you get that really smooth, then everything else is going to fall into place. So one of the exercises that I really love to use when working on scales is practicing the C major scale just with the fingers 1 and 2. So going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and then coming back down. And this really helps to get the thumb really moving, to get it really working. You can try and see how fast you can get that going. And that's a great first step. Now, after that, what I like to do is to practice also moving the thumb under the third finger like this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, 2, 1. So you go up and back down and really practice making the thumb work. So instead of moving the arm to the side like this, what you want to do is really make sure that all that motion is coming from the thumb like this. And that minimizes the amount of motion that I have to do with my arm, with my hand, and it's going to make a big difference when you want to play those scales really, really quickly. When you see when I play a scale quickly like this, there's almost no side-to-side movement in the hand. That's all coming from the thumb going under. So practice going under the third finger, and then you can do that same thing with the fourth finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, moving the thumb under like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and coming back down. And obviously, working on keeping the hand still and doing it in both hands. So 1, 2, 3, 1. You can start from C going down, and then the same thing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, with as little motion in the hand and in the arm as possible. The goal of this exercise is really to make the thumb work. So once you have that going, that's going to be a great basis for developing speed and fluency in these scales. Now let's talk about some of the exercises that you can do on the specific scales to really develop the speed and fluency of those scales. Now, I like to think of all the scales as consisting of two groups from one thumb to the next. So for example, I'll show you what I mean here. If we take the C major scale, we have this group from the thumb to the thumb, and then we have the next group from the thumb to the thumb again. And those two groups comprise the entire scale. So from C to F and F to C. So a great way of working on these scales that will really help you to build up the speed is to play from thumb to thumb as fast as possible. 1, 2, 3, 1 here. Just repeat it until that's sounding really smooth and even, and then taking the next group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Now, not every scale starts on the thumb, of course. You have scales that start on the second finger or on the third finger. And by the way, if you're looking for the fingerings of the scales and want to know what order you should practice them in, I've got all of that great videos on the scales on my website, petersonpianoacademy.com, along with many other tutorials and step-by-step lessons that will really help you to progress as fast as possible at the piano. So anyway, let's take a look at here. If I were to start, for example, on a scale like D flat, I start on 2, 3, and my thumb plays on the F, right? So I still look at where are my two thumb groups. If I continue this scale, I have a group from F to C. So that would be my first group that I could practice on the D flat scale, like this. And as that scale continues, of course, I play my next thumb on the F. So again, thumb on C to F. So I would practice repeating this really quickly, and then from C to F, like this. And you put those two together, and you've got the scale going already at a really, really fast speed. So breaking it into two groups of thumb to thumb can really help with developing the speed and the fluency of scales. Now, another thing that I really love to work on with scales, and this is more geared towards the evenness of the scales, is playing the scales in dotted rhythms. So let me first describe to you what the problem is with a lot of beginners. You'll hear them play scales, but they're not even. So they sound a little bit like some notes faster than others. It doesn't sound really, really precise. Now, if you practice dotted rhythms like this, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, and so on, going up and back down again, da, 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 and not only doing long, short, long, but reversing it as well and doing short, long, 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 and so on, up and back down. That will cause you to make a pause and to emphasize every other note. And that's why we do both rhythms, long, short, and short, long. So once again, long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short, and so on. And then short, long, short, long, short, long, short, long. And the idea with this is to make that rhythm as precise as possible. So don't play it lazily, sort of da, 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 da. You want da, 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 da. Really make the fingers work. Really be sure that you're lifting the fingers off the keys again after you've played the notes. That makes a huge difference in the sound. Remember, with the scales, you don't want to hold the notes down too long like this. Then you get this overlapping of the sound that is not very melodious. It doesn't sound like singing. When we sing, for example, we can never sing more than one note at a time, unless you're a Buddhist throat singing monk. There are some crazy people that can do that. But anyway, most of us can only sing one note at a time. And we want to imitate that when we play. So we want to be sure that we're always actively lifting the fingers. So those dotted rhythms are a really great exercise. Now, another exercise that I really love to do with scales is playing staccato. This is also key for making sure that you have a really precise, even sound. And staccato, of course, means short, so I'm playing bump, 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 bump. Listening to every single finger and making sure that every finger has exactly the same length, as short as you possibly can. This is an exercise that really forces your fingers to work. It makes you actively lift the notes, not just play them, but to lift them quickly as well. And that will also help improve your evenness and your speed at the piano. And of course, again, doing them in both hands, left hand and right hand, is really important because you don't want to favor one hand more than the other when you're practicing these things. Now, going on to another exercise that I really love. This is putting accents on every second, third, and fourth note in the scale. Again, this will cause you to emphasize fingers that you otherwise might be neglecting a little bit or might not be as strong as other ones. Sometimes you'll be landing on the fourth finger, sometimes the second, sometimes the third. And this is how it works. When I emphasize every second note, I'm going to play 2 octaves of the scale, like this. Da, 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 da. And coming back down. Every second note, I'm making an accent. And now I'm going to do the same thing every third note, and I'm going to play 3 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. And after that, I do every fourth note going up 4 octaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That can be a little bit tricky sometimes because it goes against a little bit the fingering that we normally use. Like I said, you're always accenting a different note, but it's really, really great for improving the evenness of your playing at the piano. And again, with both hands and trying it as fast as you can. See how quickly you can get that going, how much you can move the speed up. Once you've got that going, there's a couple other things that I'd also recommend playing when you're practicing scales. And that is playing one hand loud and one hand soft at the same time. So I'm going to practice, I'll show you this over 2 octaves, playing the right hand loud and the left hand soft like this. And now playing the left hand loud and the right hand soft. And going along with that, you can also practice playing staccato in one hand and legato in the other like this. Or reversing that and playing. That helps to develop the independence between the hands, making sure that each hand can independently of the other do things like legato, staccato, forte, piano, and so forth. Now, there's one final thing that I like to work on, and this I think is incredibly important. Now, a lot of people, when they play scales, practice them in a very mechanical way, and a lot of the exercises that I've just shown you are quite mechanical. The problem with that is that in music, in the actual pieces that we're playing, scales should not often be played like that. They need to be played with more musicality. So to give you an example from Mozart, when I play... Now, about the worst thing I can do is to play those extremely mechanically, as if they're an exercise, as if I'm just running through my scales in my daily practice routine. I want them to have a sense of going up and down, to have a sense of crescendo and diminuendo. And I think that it's important that we practice that as well when we're practicing the scales, so that we don't automatically fall into this very mechanical way of playing anytime that we have a scale in a piece. So what I do is I like to practice starting from a pianissimo or piano dynamic and crescendoing up over 2 octaves or 4 octaves and then coming back down again. So something like this. Or reversing it, starting loud and making a decrescendo and then coming back and making a crescendo again on the way back down. That will help you to preserve the musicality of the scales, and it will also help you to really develop a sense of control at the piano, being able to, in the middle of the scale, change the dynamic as you're going up or down. So those are a few of the techniques that I use when I'm practicing scales. Maybe you have some techniques of your own that you can share with us. Please let us know in the comments section how you like to practice scales. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.